So first thing that should seem obvious to everybody is that the economy is not in good shape nationwide. And just remember, kids, the stock market doesn't make up the overall economy. Politicians do this all the time. They fool you. They trick you. When one guy's in office, he says the stock market's doing great. His political rival says the stock market means nothing for the regular folks. And then they switch sides. And here we are again with the stock market's pumping, with risk of overbuying, which will lead to a melt up, which we'll explain in a minute. The unemployment numbers coming out this week and all of the jobs data saying that we're in big trouble, like serious trouble like you would never believe. 3 reports came out this week. Those would be the JOLTS report, the non-farm payrolls, and the ADP payment processing companies reports. All 3 of them showed incredibly soft numbers in the markets, actually leading us to a place of negative employment growth for the first time, get this, since COVID-19, December of 2020. The only other time this ever happened was in 2008. That was the global financial crisis. You remember when every single person you know was over-leveraged, owning 10 houses that they shouldn't have owned? That's when Vegas saw its really hardest hit times. And I've been telling you guys for a while, you need to learn how to play those stock markets. I have been doing it for a year and a half. I'll put my email in there, so when I do have a course up for you, you'll be the first to know about it. But if the stock market's great, but if the employment numbers are bad, how can you expect people to actually afford to come to Las Vegas? That's the $1 million question. The other $1 million question is, if people can't afford to come to Vegas, why are there shows like The Wizard of Oz opening up? Shows with seats that are selling for so much money when you can't even see the whole stage. What's the real deal? Is this a success or is this just a monstrosity? So the Wizard of Oz show opened recently at the MSG Sphere, you know, the big giant sphere where everything is hyper priced. And for many people lining up right here behind me, this will be the only taste of the Wizard of Oz that they are ever going to be able to afford to get a free selfie at the Venetian. But it gets worse than that, because when the media started talking about the Wizard of Oz, the only thing they really wanted to talk about was Google Gemini's AI.
In 1956, its fortunes changed when CBS aired it on TV. Generations have now watched it at least once a year. But turning that into this requires state-of-the-art technology, including artificial intelligence.
We wanted to make sure we captured the original details.
Ravi Rajamani is Managing Director of AI for Google Cloud.
We built a custom-built an AI model that understood how Judy Garland looks and then was able to generate the super resolution images of that.
So a grainy close-up of Dorothy becomes richly detailed. And then, through a process called outpainting, though it seems like magic, we see the rest of the Scarecrow, the Yellow Brick Road, and the Mountains of Oz.
This is the original movie,
right,
and you can see the camera panning back and forth. And then when we get to Uncle Henry's performance, you can see how we create all the variations here.
Ben Grossman is the visual effects supervisor.
In the original, nobody saw him walk over.
Nobody saw him walk over.
But on a screen this wide, Dorothy's Uncle Henry needed to stay in the picture. So AI created a brand new performance out of actor Charlie Grapewine.
An investigative kind of report I did turned out that people were actually working on this film full force, only to have Google Gemini come out and be the one that takes all the credit for it. Pretty nasty. What's even nastier about this experience over at the Sphere is that tickets are starting at $114. And if you don't know the Sphere here in Vegas, this is a venue that was built brand new from the ground up, only to have controversy right out the gate when U2, the world's famous Irish rock band, came into town, and people realized that their expensive ticket to the U2 concert was an obstructed view. So for $114 each, you could take a family of 4 for a grand total of nearly $600 after service fees, taxes, and everything, to not see the entire experience at the Sphere. It looks pretty cool, but at the end of the day, it's not getting rave reviews with fans. And I suspect that if you're coming here, your best choice will be to wait until the day of the show, be more flexible, and then try to snap up really cheap tickets on a service like StubHub or SeatGeek, because gosh, $114 not to see everything? What do you think in the comments below? Another person that doesn't apparently see everything in Vegas is a major CEO who came out on MSNBC and proved that he was detached from what you're really going through. So in case you missed it, MGM Resorts International President and CEO Bill Hornbuckle went on CNBC, and he had a lot to say. He basically told you that you're being ripped off without exactly saying those words. Quotes like, when I'm charging $12 for Starbucks at Excalibur, maybe we got a bit ... He literally admitted that they were price gouging their lower end customers, the people could afford it the most. Their quotes in the article say, we'll let the narrative get away from us and shame on us. Now panic pricing is coming up and they're lowering prices. We're going to do an entire video on this CEO and what he has said in the past. In some gaming circles with some people that I can't tell you who they are who email me, I hear that he is not a very highly regarded CEO in the business, but that's all subjective and I'll let you make up your decision. Subscribe to the channel because we're going to be doing that video coming up here on Wednesday when we take a deep dive and do a reaction about it. And one other thing that really hurts when the casinos hurt is the amount of people that can't live a better life in Vegas. Right now we have the housing crisis in Vegas amped up. How bad? It just got really bad with news that just came from an anonymous source to me today. I mean, part of the American dream is that you can afford your own home and you can get equity in that house and maybe sell it so you could have a retirement or buy a nicer property because you're doing so good and so well in life. But Vegas has hit a wall in the real estate market. We actually had in July a 30% increase on homes on market. That follows a year straight of 20% surplus inventory in the market in Vegas for real estate. People are simply not buying homes. We seems like we're in a position right now where there is so much economic uncertainty happening in the markets. Consumer confidence reports go up and down and waver, but we're sitting on an economy where there's more cash being held and not spent than ever before. Meanwhile, at the same time, credit card defaults are as high as they've ever been. After taking a tumble on credit card balances after COVID with all of that free government money, we're back to where we were before the pandemic. And that's not to mention the stock markets, which are prone to melt up before you know it. How bad is that going to get? A melt up is just as bad as a meltdown. And how could the stock market keep climbing? It just makes no sense, right? All those bad government reports, well, they are driving the stock market in ways you would never understand. You see, because the Federal Reserve, they're the ones that control the interest rates. And for a long time, Donald Trump's been screaming and yelling about Jerome Powell needs to lower the rates. You got to lower the rates. And all of this new economic data that we told you about at the beginning of the video with all of these unemployment numbers coming up, this is forcing the hand of the feds to actually lower the rates. And you can expect a rate cut coming sometime in September. If it's not September, I would be shocked if not October. And that's simply going to pump the markets even more. Billion-dollar companies, billionaires, people with hundreds of millions of dollars to throw around and leverage in the markets, all they do is they simply get access to that cheap money and buy more of the things that go up, the things that you don't have and I don't have. More real estate, more gold, more equities, which is why I need you guys to consider learning about these markets at least. You owe it to yourself to do that much. If you don't know how to trade, you should send me an email. I'll put it in the first pinned comment of this video. I'm going to be rolling out a course pretty soon here that'll show you the 3 simple things I do. And it's not going to make you a millionaire, but if you could get $500 a week out of this, wouldn't that pay off at least part of your mortgage, if not all of it? Wouldn't that take care of your entire rent? And would that not be life-changing and a path to a better life? But if the markets are going to melt down and continue to melt down, what's going to happen with the prices here? Well, the good news is the casinos are running a literal fire sale. And by the way, it is really windy out here and I'm starting not to like it, so be sure to subscribe to the channel as I have to hold my camera so it doesn't blow away. If you're even 1% smarter during this video, subscribe to the channel, and then at least next time in a few days when I talk about the most out-of-touch CEO on the planet Earth, you know all about it, you'll be notified of the video. So the deals are coming into town, the fire sales are happening. Well, they're not exactly fire sales, but they are pretty good deals. And I've told you this before, it was only a matter of time. This is how markets work. It's capitalism. The supply is low and the demand is high. The price goes up. Price goes up, price is too high, supply becomes more open up. There is no demand, prices go down. It's all a cycle. It's that day trading stuff that I told you I would teach you how to do. But either way, we do have deals. Caesars Entertainment, unleashing deals. $300 for 2 nights and you get $200 of food and beverage credit. How'd you do, Pikachu? The thing is, it's not actually Caesar's Palace. What do you think? Are you crazy? There's no way they would do Caesar's Palace. That sells itself. That's the one property where you can go there on any given night and say that Steven and Not Leaving Las Vegas is full of it because it's super busy here. But it is at, the Flamingo and the Link and the Harrah's. And yeah, I think you still have to pay resort fees, so it's less of a $100 deal and more like a $200 to come to Vegas deal. but it's still something. But the real deals are kind of off of this main drag out here, with the exception of Treasure Island, which I think is still running their no resort fee deal that they have as well. You know, you can park for free at Treasure Island all day long. Everybody does it. All the cool kids do it. Aren't you cool? Shouldn't you be doing it? We also have deals at the Sahara on the north end of the strip, circa downtown. The Plaza, of course, has some deals going on. And then you get into the local casinos, which is fine if you have the ability to come to the strip. But there are some deals out there, so don't think you shouldn't come. Just think that you should come and expect to be preyed on. And expect that they think you're stupid, which ties us into our next thing, which is the worst commercial I've ever seen for Vegas, ever. $2 million just wasted. That commercial, man, was it bad. Right, in case you missed it, the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority spent $2 million to create an ad that would be the solution to everything that ails the industry right now in Sin City. The ad, which aired during the very first NFL football game of the 2025 season, covers the life of a young girl, and you can actually see it on the screen right now. She's sitting in her office job, going through the drudgery of life until she decides that she needs an escape. She then gets transported through a wall in her office and magically teleported to Las Vegas, Nevada, a place that rolls out the red carpet for her and, you know, basically carries her around the city, giving her a pampered experience. The problem with this ad, as you can see, is that it only really covers one particular demographic, which is young women. So not only did it completely miss its core demographic during the football game it ran, it only hits 50% of the population. And it was torn apart online, with Vital Vegas saying it was just abysmally terrible, and other people on platforms like X, formerly Twitter, and YouTube saying that all they really needed to put on the screen was, you know, no resort fees, cheap drinks, no $26 bottles of water, LasVegas.com or something similar to that. But at the end of the day, it's very easy to sell things like Vegas when the economy is great, and it's a lot more difficult to craft the proper narrative to bring people back to town. Let's just hope that they do better in the future. This is the same firm that's been making the Vegas commercials for the better part of a few decades now. But then again, they've never really had to deal with Vegas in particular having a bad reputation for not being a value proposition. And if there's a silver lining to all of this, is that downtown Fremont Street, where it all started, seems to be where it's all ending up in 2025. And there's actually a very, very good reason for this. But recently, downtown is where it's at. Room nights average about $100 per night, with the exception of weekends and special events pushing the prices up slightly more. But that pales in comparison to what they offer down here on the strip for close to double the price. Not to mention that you have lower resort fees downtown, and when there is a resort fee involved, and there's some resorts like the Four Queens that will seemingly die on the hill of no resort fees ever. So you can skip them entirely and still be on the main tourist drag. Unlike down here, where to find a no resort fee situation, you have to kind of go off the beaten path. Downtown also seems to have better limits on everything. You can find $5 limits on blackjack tables that still deal 3 to 2 blackjack. The reason for that is actually quite simple, and it comes down to how the businesses are structured. If you've been watching the channel for any discernible amount of time, and if you haven't subscribed yet because you're not at least 1% smarter, I'm going to give you a whole 1%. I'm going to make you 10% smarter and explain why downtown's winning while the strip is losing. You see, at the end of the day, it comes down to how the businesses are structured. It comes down to how we talked about Bill Hornbuckle being so disconnected with the common person that he has to say positive things no matter what just to placate his investors so they don't dump the stock and he loses his job. It comes down to downtown properties with having basically one owner. And as I've explained on the channel before, the properties on the strip like the Venetian Plaza, where we've been for this entire video, long ago sold themselves out in terms of land and actual buildings to giant hedge funds for cash grabs. This has put them in that impossible position. I did a video called Explaining the Casino Death Spiral a few months ago, where they have to generate more profits by driving up fees and making things more expensive. Because if they don't, they won't do a few things. Number one, they won't be able to pay the ever-increasing rents that come with the agreements they got into when they sold the properties to new landowners. And number two, they'll fail to increase the value of their company, thereby failing their shareholders and losing company value on the whole. And that value is in the billions of dollars globally, just so you're aware. So if at this point you don't feel at least 2%, if not 10% smarter about why Vegas Strip versus downtown is such a different value proposition and why the Strip is suffering, I don't know what to tell you. But I do know one thing. You should subscribe to this channel because we do news updates like this on Mondays. We do deep dive videos like the picking apart of the Vegas CEO interview on CNBC that we're doing in a few days. And we also are going to be starting blogs or vlogs, if you will, where we take a small camera into these properties, film and talk about the history and find something strange and mysterious, maybe even negative, to pull apart so you can fully understand Vegas as a whole. My name is Steven. I'm not leaving Las Vegas. I'm the only one in town that's doing videos like this where I tell you the truth. I don't care if the casinos try to kick me out, and if they did, it would make for one heck of a viral video. Being kicked out for telling the truth about the industry. Who would have thunk it? But it's a possibility in 2025. Until I see you in my next video, be sure to like, share, subscribe. Now it's time for the video where I have to hold my camera because it's windy and I say 3, 2, 1, click. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1, and click!